episode 18 of the Camility podcast, and today on this episode I am joined by Gemma Brown of Gemma Brown Coaching. How you doing, Gemma?
I'm good, thank you. Good morning.
I got through that introduction without calling you Emma or any other name other than your own, so
well done. It's a good start.
It's a success, isn't it? It's a success. Gemma, so do you want to, the people that don't know you, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and just give us an introduction to yourself and how you got into coaching.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. Well, as the name says, Gemma Brown Coaching. I am a coach and I've had my own coaching practice for just over a year now. So working with people, individuals and businesses to ultimately create a happier life.
Excellent. So going back a couple of steps. So when was it? When did we connect on LinkedIn?
Oh, that's a good question. It was around lockdown, wasn't it? Was it sort of start of lockdown?
I think so. Yes. And I thought it was really great because you were on LinkedIn and you put up a video, and it was what was it? 6 weeks.
6-week wellbeing program. So something I've been working on for a while and wanted to share with people. So created a video and posted that, and I think you commented on that.
And I'm laughing because as you're saying that, you're smiling because the one thing I thought was great about it, and because I look at a lot of stuff on LinkedIn and I'm a bit of a scroller, and there's a lot of peacocking on, well, there's a lot of peacocking on all social media. There's a lot of peacocking on LinkedIn about, oh, look at me. And you put up that video and dare I say, it appeared you weren't obviously comfortable doing so, but you did it anyway. And I thought that was really good because, again, being in lockdown, it's acutely obvious with the world changing in front of us that we all need to get out of our truly get out of our comfort zone. Comfort zone's an overused word, but you know, if we just carry on as we were before in your business, in my business, we might be left behind, and that really resonated with me because it wasn't coming naturally to you, but you did it, and to put that out on LinkedIn, where you've got to show your best self and your sharpest suit and all that hyperbole. I nearly said another word, but I thought that was great. So hence why we connected, and kind of the rest is history, really.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. No, I guess I hadn't really thought of it like that before. What am I trying to say? I guess, it's not my natural place to be and put myself out there like that. But I guess through starting a business and lockdown, it encourages us to do things that we wouldn't usually do, and take a risk. And one thing I've sort of thought about a lot through lockdown is we're all just people. And so me sharing that video connected with you, and what a great outcome that's been so far. So part of it was the fear of the technology, I think, my discomfort and not having the great best equipment, not really knowing what I was doing. I was just having a go because
can I let you into a secret? I guess we all are, and in terms of this podcast, the first few podcasts, bloody hell, having a clue what I was doing, just turning up with a recorder going, just bloody talk. and now, using Zoom, I've got editing software, and perhaps like you look back and think, bloody hell, I've come such a far, it's in such a, I hate the word, but such a journey over the last few months by incrementally just doing little bits each day to move forward.
Completely, and I think we don't do that enough. Look at those look back at what we have done or how far we have come, because we're so focused on the next thing, or we're busy or we're distracted. You know, we talk about that quite a lot. And when I look back at that video, gosh, that seems like a long time ago. But part of it was, how am I going to connect with people in lockdown? I can't go out, we can't meet people. So how am I going to meet or connect with others? And that video, I guess, was just having a go at, this may resonate with some people. And luckily it did. And now people are going to go and look at that video, and I'm really embarrassed.
So as the power of the podcaster, what I do now is, the link is right there. There you go. So look underneath this, and there's the link. You can press on it now. I'll even pause so people have got a chance.
Oh, great, thanks.
That's all right. Cool.
At least they know to not expect a highly edited, shiny, professional looking video. It's DIY, it's me.
Yeah, but I think that's the way forward. I mean, God, I don't know, perhaps I spend too much time on LinkedIn, but I love all this. I love the fact that just people are preening themselves up, not actually saying a lot. They've got loads of production. It's like, oh, fancy, you've got a super duper screen and you've got triple lighting, but the words coming out of your mouth and your body language are not congruent, and it's like, oh God. Do you know what I mean? I sort of despair with that. So okay, so do you want to give us a bit of background? So you've been coaching and becoming accredited before that. So up to that point, so do you want to give us a sort of background of what you did before you got into coaching, and sort of the old journey from sort of up until you became a coach, and what led you to become a coach?
Oh gosh, wow, that's a long story. How far back do you want to
go? I'm laughing because I interviewed somebody else, Neil from the Cambridge Fruit Company, and I asked him the same question. He said, well, do you want to know about where I was born? Like, you cheeky sod. So okay, but you worked in the perhaps something that's quite relevant now. You worked in the hospitality down in Cornwall for a while.
Yes, yeah. So I'm from Cambridge, North Cambridge. So born and bred here, but moved around with work quite a lot. Actually, had some really great opportunities. So directly before becoming a coach, I was working in tourism for a self-catering company who I've worked with for almost 10 years before that. So started there quite early in my career, and just had some amazing opportunities to move around and develop my career, and work with some amazing people, learning a lot, and ended up living and working in Cornwall. Managing some rather large teams down there.
So the way you're describing it, you're mentioning the word Cornwall, which always sounds lovely, and you said amazing this and amazing that. So it was amazing. So if it was amazing, why are you not still doing it then? And that's a provocative question, but it's interesting because I guess there wasn't something that was ticking all the boxes. It was ticking some boxes, but yeah. So carry on.
Yeah, very good question. It ticked a lot of boxes, and I was loving what I was doing. I had such a great team. The people that I worked for, really strong relationships with, still do, and I'm still lucky enough to get to do some work with them, so it's great. But I guess in Cornwall, my life was work, and so, which I didn't really mind at the time. I quite I really enjoyed that. You're able to really focus, but there was something missing, I guess, in terms of the personal side and connections really with things out of work. So it was a long decision. It was a really tough decision, and one that I had a lot of coaching about, actually, as to, you know, what does this mean? I love what I'm doing, but you know, I've got this niggle inside me which is saying there's something else. So yeah, lots of coaching, lots of preparing for that decision. And
because the reason I wanted to bring that out, because you know, over my life, I've met a lot of people through my work and personally who've had this sort of the corporate life, and you know, and perhaps not in your case, but they've had a life event and they've gone, yeah, this is great, but what you know, you have a life event and it's like, God, but what does it mean? It's great. And part of me would really like that corporate life where you are being really challenged and it's really engaging and you're really you're pushing yourself, and it's like, what's that Maslow theory? Self-actualization. So you're really, you know, you set your goal, you're doing it, you're living it. Then it's like, yeah, something's missing.
Yeah, I guess there was a life event. I met somebody and he lived in Cambridge. So I've done the long distance thing a few times, actually. And something just changed. And then I think something happened, like you say, it's an event or a situation where it makes you reconsider what's most important to you. I guess when I was in Cornwall, it was head down and I was working and thriving in my career and I loved it. And I guess but I started to get to the point where I was just, something was missing, and then made the decision to come back to Cambridge, which
so you
I
then
was going to say, it's just a coincidence that he was from Cambridge and that's where I was from.
happy days. So, but you mentioned in all that you had coaching yourself, and then that was a sort of a really big thing towards getting you to do your coaching.
Absolutely, yes. I started coaching before that whole sort of decision came up for me, and I tried other sort of, I guess, therapies or different kinds of self-development in the past, but I was really at that crossroads, I guess, or just wanted to understand myself a bit more, understand, you know, I've got all of these great things around me, I've got family, friends, lovely home, great job, you know, why am I not, like, you know, bouncing out of bed every morning, and why am I finding this so hard, and what's missing? And a friend suggested coaching. A friend of a friend had become a coach and connected us together. And to be honest, I didn't really know what coaching was at the time. I didn't know what I was getting into. I just went into it thinking, I want to take some control. I want to move forward myself, not just continue coasting along so much, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm laughing because it just just resonates with me, and I'm sure it resonates with a shitload of people. So.
But that was just one of those points in life, I think, where you have no expectations. So I didn't know what I was going to get, but what I've got is where I am now. I've got so much more awareness of myself, and it was really down to that relationship and that starting point. And I guess what inspired me to become a coach is because I love working with people. I think people are fascinating, and I want to give that self-belief to other people, to just, gosh, there's so much power in the coaching relationship, and it's a hard one to articulate if you haven't experienced it.
Yeah, I'm just.
What are you thinking?
No, I'm pausing because I'm trying to. I've had coaching in the past, and I'm trying to articulate it. But you can't. There is. I'm going to murder it. I'm going to murder it if I try.
Go on.
Well, I think what comes out of it, what came out of it for me is then you've got to have trust in the person. You've got to, and I think we come full circle. It's that vulnerability. If you're talking to somebody and you've got coaching, for me, it's a case of, well, it's coaching in anything. It's coaching in work. I think in absolutely anything is that kind of that vulnerability and that realism. Like to say, well, I'm on high, I'm a coach in whatever field, and I just, the sun shines out of my backside. I've got no problems. Everything's great. I'm living this wonderful, do you know what I mean? This wonderful life. And I thought for me, when I had coaching, it was the reason why it was even a thing is because the other person was, I'm trying to work it out as well.
Yeah. That can be hard to balance, actually, because I think sometimes the perception is, as a coach, you've got it all sorted, and you are living that high. But what we were saying earlier, we're all just people. We got fears and struggles, and
and but it's we are all people, and we are in business and in life. It's just relationships, and if you can't, and it's that, I think it's that barrier. I've worked with sort of, I don't know this. I've worked with business coaches in the past, and it's like there's like this. They've got all the answers, and business is easy. And if you just follow this step plan, everything will be fine, and you'll retire in 2 years, and nothing goes wrong, and it's a utopia. And it's like, well, you're not selling it in the right way.
I think for me, it's a hard one to describe what coaching is if you haven't experienced it. And so I think in its most basic form, I just listen to people. And my dog's barking, sorry.
You can bring the dog in. This podcast is dog friendly.
Sorry.
Definitely dog friendly.
She might come in a minute. I just listen to people, and that is so rare, I think.
It is rare. Sorry, this is going against podcast regulations. Could you bring your dog up to the camera, please?
I will try.
As podcast host, I order you to bring the dog in, please.
Okay, bear with me.
Perfect.
Let me see if she comes along.
Perfect. And if you're listening to this back, Gemma, I haven't cut it out, so we've got to go and see the dog.
Best laid plans. She's going to bark a lot now because we're having a skip collected, so you might want to edit this out.
No, this is real life. I'm not gonna. No, this is good. This is.
We can go with it.
Yeah, we can go with it. So before we were interrupted by a beautiful dog, can we name?
Her name's Leela.
Fantastic. Excellent. And again, we'll put a picture of Leela.
Oh yes.
Can you give her like a range of like soppy dog photos, please? So
okay.
We'll put it into the. She'll get.
Yeah. I've got loads. My camera's full of them.
Where the bloody hell? Where
were we? I was listening.
And I wanted to ask the question, which may sound pretentious. So when you listen, what part of your body are you listening with?
Good question.
I know that sounds like a proper like throwaway meme type question, but
it's a really good question. I think I'm well, it's the whole body, but I feel it here in my heart. I don't know why I said that, but that's where I feel it. I think when I'm concentrating, I'm trying to hear not necessarily the words, but what's going on behind the words. And
So to that point, are you trying to get through the self-created stories that justify actions? Is that what you get at?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I talk about listening, you know, there's no magic in coaching. I think sometimes we think there's a magic, some formula or something. There isn't that. The magic is within the person who's being coached. And this is going to sound a bit airy-fairy now, but so ultimately we all want to be happy. On its most basic level, I think. And whatever we think was going to make us happy, whether that's the job or the money or I want to be fit and look like that X person, or I want a relationship, or whatever it is, I think we spend so much time looking outward to get that, and we look for the quick fix or the opportunity to come in front of us. We don't look inside to understand ourselves and work out what actually motivates us, what we need, what's important to us, because we're so busy focused on external things. And so ultimately I'm listening to help the person work out what that might be for them.
And that's something that's really stuck with me, is again, going back to that video, is the fact that but it's what does happiness mean to you? And I remember us chatting ages ago, say, well, you made a something like happiness is not going to do hot yoga if you don't want to do hot yoga. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes. Tick the box. I've done my hot yoga. I've got my mint tea. You know what I mean? Because that's what you do. That's what everybody does to take care of themselves, and watching a few Netflix documentaries to make themselves feel better about themselves.
But that's what we see on Instagram, isn't it? We see, there's that perfect yoga pose, or there's that detox something or other. Or if I go on that holiday, that's it, I'm going to be cured. Or so not that.
But I don't know why when you said that, because I don't think it's the first person to ever say that, but why that kind of stuck with me, because it is that tick box mentality. But then look back, like you say, looking within and then thinking, shit, what does happiness, what does contentment mean for me? That's a biggie, isn't it? It's a biggie.
It is a biggie, but we don't. Is it different when somebody else asks you that as to when you are just asking that of yourself?
Well, I guess the art of a good coach is to get you, I guess, to ask the right questions, to get you to stop, pause, and think, and just think like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, I think the question we were talking about was around happiness, but was it around what does well-being mean to you?
Here we go. Yeah.
And it was a sort of a stop and And again, I think looking outside, we look for those. If I do that, if I do X, that works for somebody else, I must do that. And we get a lot of noise, don't we, from others telling us, well, this is good for you, this is going to make you feel good. They're selling us the well-being dream. But if you don't, like you say, if you don't like yoga, or if you don't know why you're doing yoga, then there's this disconnect.
Yeah. I'm thinking back to my hot yoga days down at Milton, and it's just, oh dear. Yeah.
Why were you doing that?
What was I doing it? I was going to give you a sugar-coated answer there, so I'm going to. I'm quite a tense person. My shoulders are up here anyway. I've always carried tension.
Let's all just roll our shoulders down. Yeah. Have a nice little stretch out.
There we go.
Loosey goosey.
And breathe and breathe. So there was partly of that. There was partly, just to get out of my head. You know, at that point, it was, it was quite a heavy work period. So it was like, okay, well, can you, it was always constantly making decisions. So I thought, if you got it out of your head and into your body, which is totally valid. And that's what that's a great, that's important. But yeah, it's just kind of, it's hot yoga. It was great, but no shit, I didn't, I bought a membership and bloody hardly ever used it. So
I think that's quite familiar, or common for a lot of people.
So again, so what was the accreditation you got? Because we were talking a few weeks ago that was it the I?
So I'm accredited certified coach with the International Coach Federation. It's a mouthful, isn't it? Yeah. And I've just submitted my studies and essays and things for the postgraduate certification in business and personal coaching.
Very good. I mean that may not mean a lot to many people, but I've got a friend, David Brown, who went through the same accreditation, and I know
no relation.
No. Sorry, yeah. No. No. I didn't think of it like that, but no, you're definitely not. When you see him, there's no. Anyway, so so I know how much work he put into that. So it's a bit of a slog, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's continual as well. When you talked about journey earlier, it's non-stop development, and I probably didn't appreciate that at the time of getting into it. It's constant development, reflection. I love reflection.
I never knew that.
Self-care is a huge part of coaching as well, and I guess when I didn't really decide to set up my own coaching practice and become a coach, and I know lots of people say that. It just kind of evolved, but there's something wonderful in that as well, and feeling that you're in the right place and you're doing something that really ticks all your boxes.
Can we go back to that self-care? Because it's something I really admire about you, and it's something I really admired about our mutual friend Rachel Bryant. That self-care, like the fact that you do actually take care of yourself, and you're quite disciplined in that. Because I guess I can speak personally. One's just full pelt, and it's there's not a lot of. It's very engaging. You can not delude yourself. You can be engaged with what you do, and therefore you want to do more of it because you enjoy it. But it goes back to that analogy of pouring from an empty pot, isn't it?
One of my favourite quotes. Yeah.
So I just stole that from you, didn't I?
You did.
Oh my God.
Well, I stole it from someone else, so.
Oh my God.
You can have it.
Oh, that's scandalous. Yeah. So I've been thinking about about it, and come up with this. Oh my God.
No, but that's why it's so good, because it resonates on so many levels with different people.
Oh dear. Oh.
I love that you think it's all a work in progress, and I have times when I'm really disciplined and looking after myself, and then life happens, doesn't it? And you think, I've got to keep going, I've got to do more. And I've learned so much in this year in terms of setting up a business and everything that goes with that. But lockdown as well, I think I've probably felt more exhausted and overwhelmed. And
you had that self-employed, as a self-employed person, you had that facial expression that all self-employed people do. You went, and it's that exasperation of, and you went somewhere with your eyes like, bloody hell, if I'd known it'd been this much BS and this much hassle, would I have done it? Like that. That was.
Oh, it touches on what we were talking about, I think, before we recorded. I can't remember, but the reason you get into something that you love, because of the passion, because of the connection that you have with it, because of the joy that it brings you, becomes a tiny part of what you actually end up doing. And then there's all the admin and the marketing and the business development and that you end up doing a lot of, and you then doing less of the reason that you set up in the first place. So
can we stay on this subject for a while, because it's always interesting that this podcast, Rachel's podcast, Ash's podcast, it always comes back, and again it's Simon, it comes back, that Simon Sinek, it always comes back to it. I mean, I don't manage it this way, but it's the why, isn't it? Because it's why the hell did you do it in the first place? And just as much as one can in a sort of that commercial world is to try and always, as much as you can, keep to that why and not get off target. I mean, we don't live in a perfect world, so you do get pushed off target now and again, but to keep that why right at the center of your decision making and don't lose sight of it. So, and that perhaps that comes down to not just totally, well, you got to earn money, but not just totally doing it to chase money, not just totally doing it to, I don't know, be a celebrity or whatever it may be.
And I think we forget to ask ourselves that, or there's so much focus on it having the job title or progression. We've got to be ambitious, and all of these things are great, aren't they? But if you don't know why you're doing it, then there's so much discomfort in that, and stress, and pushing, and you forget what you're pushing for.
So then,
No. You go.
No. I insist. You go.
I was just thinking. I had a workshop on was it Wednesday, one night this week, and we were looking at values and trying to understand what our values were. And everybody was really honest in the group and just said, actually, I feel like I should know what my values are. I should know why I'm doing things, but I don't. And I think that's possibly a word that's bandied around a bit as well. And we talk about corporate values and personal values, but we assume people know what is important to them. But we never have given it much thought or have been guided into how do we find that out? How do we know that when we're so focused on pushing?
Yeah, me and David used to talk a lot about this. Used to talk a lot about values, and it is, and I laugh as you were saying it, because if you've got these wishy-washy ideas of what your values are, but if you said now, pause and write them down, come up with a lot of waffle.
Well, there'd probably be sort of quite tick box words as well, and that we had that discussion on Wednesday around, you say the things that you think sound good, or you know, the common ones, integrity and all of these ones.
Integrity is core to my being.
Yeah. Which there's no disrespect if that's one of your values, but it's more personal than that. So you can really tune into what is important, and that will guide you. That will guide you to understand why you're doing what you're doing. And if you're doing something that is completely disconnected and you're wondering why you're feeling lost or stuck or stressed out, there might be some answer in that.
And as you're saying that, I'm thinking of the There was a video. I'm not going to claim it as myself. I was going to pontificate again.
Full disclaimer.
Yeah, but the video I sent over to you the other day about listen to your body. I mean,
Yeah.
Listen to your body. Listen to what your whole body's telling you. And if you're feeling lost, or you're feeling stressed, or you're feeling like, Jesus Christ, what am I doing? And those signals keep coming back on a daily basis. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how long people can. I don't know how long people can keep ignoring them for.
I think probably a long time, because they think that's how they should feel. It should be this hard, or it's like gut intuition, isn't it? And get these signals from our bodies. Something's telling us it's not right, but yet we have decided to ignore that.
Ignore it and then fill that with something. Or, I mean, it's classic, isn't it? Fill it with something, or mask it with something. Patterns of behaviour that distract you, perhaps.
Being busy, Netflix, or I think sometimes it's scary to stop though. And
how do you deal with that then? So when you're in your downtime, I'm actually looking for coaching now, because it's like, bloody hell, how do you? Because it's interesting, like when you're not physically working and you're engaging with clients and you're at your downtime, how do you stop yourself? I know you were saying it's an ongoing process, but how do you stop yourself, like, what do I do now? Oh my God.
There's always stuff to do, isn't there? There is always stuff to do. I actually had a good example of this from yesterday, because I have had a busy week, and it's been a great week, and it's full on, and I've been coaching with some great clients. And yesterday morning I woke up and I felt that, I don't know if you've had it, like anxiety in your tummy, you feel a bit fuzzy, it's anxiety where I think I've just got to get on. I've got so much to do. I need to follow up with those people. I don't want to let those people down. I need to just get on to my emails. And this was early in the morning. And I guess I've started to recognize that no good will come of just starting.
Yeah.
Just because I know that now, if I do that, it will be a day when you end the day, you've got 10 emails open, all half started, you've jumped around from thing to thing, there's no focus there, and I've spent the whole day in this like pent up energy. And what actually I need to do is the opposite of what my mind is telling me to do. I need to slow down, not speed up, not do more. I need to do less. And it's so counterintuitive, and this is like, it's why it's so hard. It is doing the opposite of what you want to do. And so yesterday I had a bit of a rant in the morning. Oh my gosh, I've got so much to do. I went for a walk.
Good stuff. And
not just my normal walk, I went for a longer walk, took the dog, didn't listen to a podcast, didn't listen to anything. So I just walked for an hour, came back, and I thought, right, now I'm jumping on my emails. Myself, no, I'm going to sit here with my coffee and I'm going to journal. And it's this fighting force.
So where does that force come from then? So as you were going through that, I was thinking that's a learned behaviour, isn't it? That got to get up. So that fighting force of all that, whatever's, anxiety in your stomach, where does that, it's where that force comes from? Fighting force, but a learned pattern behaviour and then a new pattern of behaviour sort of coming together.
I think we learn it very young, and influences around us, whether that's parents or other influential people in our life, grown up being very productive and wearing this busy badge of honor. We think to be successful or to be value, we have to be doing more. And maybe that was right at a certain point, or that worked at a certain point, but it can certainly tip where it becomes unhelpful.
Because that word you use, productive, I always think I hate that word. I hate that word because that's like you're productive, like you just become a unit of production for the man. Like you're not being you'd want to be productive, but productive on your own, perhaps not in your own terms, but for your own goals.
Comes back to why, doesn't it? Why are you trying to be? What is this productivity getting me?
And I think if you're just producing nothing for yourself and lots for other people, that's just a nil-sum game, really. Which sounds quite...
I think, oh gosh, there's so much in this busy. Everybody I speak to they really struggle with this conflict between I need to be productive, I need to achieve, I need to do more, and they recognise that they need to spend more time on their self-care or slowing down. But it's like, well, if I do that, I'm lazy. And so we value productivity as a route to success, and we value rest as a bad thing. And I listened to a great podcast where it was talking about productivity. Not this one, sadly.
Whatever.
But it was talking about rest and work not being enemies. We see them as it's one or the other. Rest is bad, productivity is good, but actually they're partners and they need to work in harmony. And in that rest and in that downtime is where we create, it's where we restore, so that we can be more productive when we choose to go back to work.
So perhaps on not a separate note, but running parallel with that, I often think, as you were talking, I was thinking, if we didn't buy loads of sounds very hip, but I don't care how this sounds, but if we didn't buy loads of crap or didn't have loads of stuff more than we don't need, would we have to work really hard? Do you know what I mean? It's like people build up this massive, I don't know, debt or house or whatever it may be, and you think, yeah, but if you didn't have all that crap, then perhaps you could actually take a day off. But do you know what I mean? And it seems like very simple, but perhaps if you didn't have loads of stuff you didn't actually need, perhaps you could take a day off, or you could have a Wednesday off every 2 weeks to do it. I don't know. It's just, it kind of...
I think that's part of it, absolutely. We've created so much stuff around us that...
Which clearly doesn't make us, like, it creates our environment, but it doesn't make us happy. Do you know what I mean? It's I don't think I'm breaking new ground by saying this. Of course I'm bloody not. But it's like, it doesn't make us happy. It doesn't go anywhere to make us happy. If it did, then we wouldn't be buying loads of crap, would we? We'd have to have the new thing and the new thing and the new thing. And it's just, it's just so bloody obvious.
But we've accumulated all this stuff and we buy things because we don't think, we don't stop. So we're just doing the next thing, on to the next thing, buy the next new thing, without thinking, again, why? Why am I doing this? Why do I want this?
So as a coach, you're getting people to, in that time they're with you, and hopefully after, is to pause and think. Is that one of the things you try and get them to do?
I think naturally in the coaching session is it gives them a reason to stop, doesn't it, and think, because they've committed to coming to coaching and we've got an appointment in the diary, and that in and of itself is hugely valuable, because people don't do that. Like we've said, they're busy. So we have that time together to just reflect back, to look inwards, to envisage a future where they feel connected to. And I was going to say something about lazy. I have a funny relationship with this word lazy. I don't like it. Because what does it even mean? And I've worked a lot through this word, because I think, well, if I'm not doing and I'm not busy, then I must be lazy. And as I've explored that word, what does it even mean? I don't know anybody who is lazy. I don't know if, in a bad sense, I don't know if you do. And
these are not my words, but somebody said it the other day. I said the people are not lazy. I think they are in many ways, because so you were saying, do you know anybody who's lazy? And then I thought the stereotypical view of somebody on the dole or something like that, which people could class, or as a society we could class as lazy. But I think, again, these are not my words, but they meant it. I think there's a bit of truth to them. I think they're just scared. They're scared to do anything. Get themselves perhaps in a hole, physically, mentally, and it's just scared. And it's just being scared. And I think there is a bit more there's a bit more truth in that, and a bit more exploration in that, rather than just saying you're lazy. Do one.
Yeah, and change is hard, isn't it? We stay where we are because it's familiar, even if it's not necessarily what we want, or we stay there because doing something means, it might be scary. I have to take an action. I have to decide what I want to do, and also making a change affects other people as well.
So you mentioned something earlier in the chat, and you said, I've had a really good week, a really good client, and I want to know what that means. What is obviously you wouldn't mention names, and it's not relevant, but what is a good client, and what is a good week, and what is a good client? I guess they go hand in hand.
Well, what was a good week? All my clients are good. There's not just one. I think what I mean by having a good coaching client is I'm doing what I love, and the chemistry is really good with that client, and we've built a really nice relationship, and they're taking the time out for themselves to reflect and explore themselves, and that's what I love doing. That's why I'm doing it, because I just get so much from that. So a good week has been.
So is that breakthroughs? Is that like kind of when you're in the coaching session you see like the client go, oh, do you know what I mean? Those kind of those sort of those shifts in them. They think, oh God, I didn't realise that. I didn't realise that. Is that? Am I?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I have never thought of it like that before, or I hadn't noticed that. Oh, actually, now talking it through, I can see that and that's just magic. They've come to that conclusion or that realization themselves. I've just sat there and listened.
I bet that is magic, isn't it? I bet you can't.
It's magic.
I bet you can't put a price on that. You'd be like, bloody hell. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's obviously about them, but it's like, I'm so glad that you've got them to that position. I'm so glad you've got to that problem from that angle that they that they never would have, that you got them to.
And he said, I think you said groundbreaking, or, you know, that sort of like wow moment. And that wow moment can be so subtle. It doesn't have to be, oh, I know I need to leave my job and move house and finish this relationship. The wow is so, yeah, it's just that realization, and witnessing that is such a privilege when somebody says, gosh, I've never thought of that before, or now I understand why. Now I understand what I need. That's great.
And your whole body language changed when you were talking about that. That was great as well. That was great.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's amazing. And so I think, you know, having a spattering of that in my week, with some self-care and some quiet time, dog walking, running, being in nature, drinking some nice wine.
Red or white?
Red. Oh, Rachel told me not to mention wine.
Why is that? Well, I'm sorry, Rachel, but she has. So why can't you mention wine? Why can't you mention wine? Sorry,
I'm not sure. Maybe I talk about it too much.
No, I think you don't talk about it enough. You should have a wine podcast or something.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea for you.
Yeah. Well, then I'll probably get a drinking problem.
Yeah, so a great week looks like that, I guess. And it's balancing the, you know, coaching is intense and you give a lot to it. And you're talking about how do you listen, and it can take a lot out of you, because you're really, the value of my listening is reflective in the value of their session. And so, you know, I don't want to let them down, and I guess that's what I've seen a lot over being a coach and lockdown, is actually, if I don't invest in myself, I'm affecting their session, and that's not what I want.
Again, as you're saying that, I mean, it's so interesting. As you're saying that, I remember there's a chiropractor who works in Cambridge, and yeah, he goes on numerous holidays each year, and I was like, and it was, again, it's just looking at it from a different angle. It's like, God, you go on so many bloody holidays. You're just like, I don't get you, man. I don't get you, and I've never got the sort of, you can't be the person you need to be for other people unless you take care of yourself. Serve, but no recharge. And so,
but I think that's applicable to any role, isn't it?
Oh, no, 100%. I mean, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about, you know, it's not applicable to coaching or chiropractic or whatever it is. It's totally, it's everybody needs to, well, it's there's the value in it. There is obviously massive value in recharging and self-care, of course.
Yeah, it's that quote, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup. Whatever role you're doing, wherever you want to show up, and I'm, you know, even if you're a parent or you're caring for somebody, the quality of your care, the quality of your attention to your children will be affected if you are drained and exhausted and mentally frazzled. If you've taken some time to nourish yourself, then the quality of whatever you're doing is going to be better.
I guess it might be a time for people that perhaps are listening to sorry, I'm doing the coaching role now. Like, I don't know. As I'm thinking, perhaps people should pause to think of what does, you know, self-care mean for them. You know, I'm sure we're all kind of frazzled at the moment, or people are having too much screen time, or whatever it may be. And I don't know, perhaps people need to put, that are listening, you need to pause and think about, what does that self-care mean for them? How you talk about going for walks with the dogs. Some people might not be recharged by that. They may be recharged by going on an activities weekend or something like that. I don't know, or a 20-mile hike or something like that.
Well, exactly. It's so unique. And also asking, what are you trying to achieve by looking after yourself? Is that a certain feeling, or are you trying to cultivate calmness, or it's bigger than just the one, what do I need to do to make myself feel good? Because that's when we get into the yoga or the tick box things again. It's really about understanding, what does this mean to me? Why am I doing it? And why have I not done it before? What stopped me?
So you were mentioning earlier about what we apply value to. Do you want to just sort of fit us in what we were chatting about earlier?
So we were talking about applying value to the things that we can see and others can see as well, actually, that we look busy, or we're ticking things off a list, and we're doing, and we apply a lot of value to that, whereas the things that you can't see, the thinking, the questioning, the trying to work stuff out, which is going on internally, which we're doing all the time, we don't give that value. And I guess we have all been doing that more than ever recently. We've been in our heads, we've had less opportunity to go places and distract ourselves. So we're thinking, and we're questioning, and we're worried, and it's uncertain. But then we sit back at the end of the day thinking, why am I so shattered? Because I've just been at home all day. But our minds are going and working, and that takes energy. But we don't apply the same value to that. No.
Because as we were chatting earlier, I can definitely see it from your point of view now, because this podcast has been quite intense, and it's good. That's a massive compliment. And I can see it from your point of view, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, bloody hell, I'm just exhausted, because you've got me to think, and I'm like, bloody hell, I've got nothing left to give. My shoulders are gone tight, and I got nothing left to give, and it's. And I don't know. I'm not to say other podcasts have been passive, but I can see why you need to have the downtime, because it's intense. You perhaps you're thinking, you're truly listening, you are trying to assimilate, because it's interesting in our conversation. When I'm asking you a question or we're talking, our eyes are going. We are just, because we're not. Do you know what I mean? We're thinking. We are trying to assimilate this information, trying to not just go to the first thing that's in the front of your head. We're just trying to, I don't know, find some truth in it, or trying to find some meaning trying to find a meaningful, truthful answer, or trying to explore it, perhaps. Bloody hell.
I think, there's an extra layer of that with COVID and lockdown, because so much of it has been on screens as well. And I don't know, you probably felt that a little bit, where you're not able to meet people face to face, and the intensity is different.
I'm laughing because it was. I met up with our mutual friend Oliver Kane. We went the other day, and I was like a pig in its own poo. I was like, oh my god, a human being, and it was so nice. It was just so. And then we went down to Quayside in the canoes, and it sounds daft, but like we went to one of the shops down there and ordered a vegan like hot dog, and I just couldn't control myself. I just didn't know what to do. Is that human interaction? I got emotional by somebody giving me a hot dog.
Oh, that makes me feel emotional now.
Oh my God, just you give me a hot dog, and Oliver's there, and we had another mate, Ben, was there, and it was lovely. It was the loveliest part because it was like, and Ben had obviously we've all been cooped up, and it was like people have saved up all this energy, all this conversation. So Ben, lovely guy, and I love you, man. So hopefully you'll be listening. But it was just like it's all this pent up energy and all these words and all these stories. He went, ah, and I thought it was so lovely.
That's so lovely.
Oh my God!
But can you imagine meeting them or meeting up with a friend, and all you do is try to make eye contact and read their face, and you're sitting there like this for 2 hours? That would be, but you don't, when you're with somebody, you've got their sense of their body language and they're there, and you've got the nature around you in your canoe. You're not just doing this.
Don't think of it like that, because yeah, you are just like, oh, hello, goldfish bowl. Oh my God.
Your eyes are probably a bit tired now as well, because mine feel, or maybe it's because of the earliness of this recording, but with concentrating.
No, they are a bit tired. Yeah. Tired.
Oh, apologies if I've exhausted you.
No, it's great. I know. I'm just thinking about this week and the sort of the difference in this week where you get because it's not obviously not my only Zoom call this week, and I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just can't wait to get back to face normality. I'm dying for it.
How are you feeling about the easing of lockdown?
Okay. So how am I? There's two like streams to that. One that personally I'm thinking, yeah, great, let's get back to one another, and just I'm dying for that. But then there is and I'm not a scientist, obviously, if you can't tell, but we live next door to a couple of scientists, and they know what they're talking about. And they said the second spike is going to be an inevitable. And anecdotally, I've heard of Anna Brooks decommissioning some wards ready for the second spike. And I'm thinking, should we have just had a really, really, really military intense lockdown, as in on the streets, because you're not going to get shot, but you're not allowed to leave the house. We should have dealt with COVID that way. Now, again, I'm just picking up. Again, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm just picking up on other people's points of view and trying to find some logic to it, trying to find some sort of sense to it. So yeah, I mean, let's bring on the lockdown. Let's bring on the easing. Let's go canoeing and all the rest of it. But what we're going to do in like November.
A lockdown in November would be very different, wouldn't it? Compared with this lovely weather we've had, and that would be quite different.
And how is that going to affect people? Like, so we've got freedom now we don't have freedom. A real cynical part of me, I'll say it anyway, I don't like to get political. A cynical part of me gets me to think that there is a lockdown, and then everybody's on the streets, and then it's all blame, people weren't social distancing, rather than a government policy which is has its flaws. And let's play the blame game.
And I think it's up to individuals now to decide, isn't it, what they're feeling comfortable with. And with the easing, it's a bit vague, so people are
don't go out, don't go out.
yeah. But even, you know, you can mix with certain people but don't stay overnight or whatever it is now, and it's confusing. But it's also, people are desperate for that contact and that re-engagement and seeing their friends and family. So they want to do that. And when we do that, I don't know if you felt this, you forget that when you met up with Ollie and things and Ben, you forget that, oh, I'm still supposed to be distanced, but oh, he's right there. And accidentally getting a bit too close, and it's really difficult.
It goes against our just inherent nature, like yeah, you can't, I don't know, I don't believe in like magnetism and all that stuff, but you're like, we're kind of gravitating towards one another, aren't we?
Desperate for it, yeah. And perhaps that's something that's a good thing. People have realized the importance of connection and how much they get from other people and from that social aspect and connecting with really important people to them. And that's been a bit of a reminder.
And something that's come up in a few of your posts where it's not going back to your old ways. You've had the time, not to reassess. You've had the time. God, it's crazy, this whole lockdown, isn't it? As I'm saying that, I'm just thinking, at the height of the lockdown, it was just, everything was on pause, wasn't it? It's kind of I don't think it's going to be once in a lifetime, but it was just but that just not going back to your old ways. Not what was the phrase you used? Oh God, it was I'm scared of falling back into habits. Yeah, I love that.
It does scare me, but already I can feel it happening. As we start to then arrange to do stuff with people and rush around again, it is naturally happening. And if we don't stop and remember what we've learned over this time, we'll just be back where we started. And I heard a quote that the biggest tragedy from this is if we learn nothing.
Yeah, and I personally don't have much hope of, as a society, of us not learning. You know, changing our ways. I really don't, and I don't think that's a pessimistic view. You know, it's if we can't, it's perhaps I'm extrapolating it, but I definitely am. But it's like, we of course coronavirus, by the way we've dealt with nature, and how much of a disruptive force this has been for the whole society. And it's like, you think about that, and you think about what it's going to be like when climate change really hits, and how we haven't learned, that perhaps this might be similar to what climate change is going to be like. Different circumstances, but when you've got multiple years of multiple failed harvests, how's that going to affect society? And I think that's a lesson that could have been learned. And then you see that it's all about build, and deregulation of environmental policies and stuff like that. And you just think it's the same old rhetoric, isn't it? It's the same old rhetoric. I mean, how much of the £190 billion that's been spent has gone on dealing with people's mental health, dealing with social care, dealing with all these things that, like, no shit, if you think about it, no shit that, the key workers are the nurses.
Yeah.
The absolute bedrock of the society. And what, and like, how are we treating them? Do you know what I mean? And how are we going to treat the NHS, and how are we going to do this, and how are we going to treat people that look after their elderly parent with dementia? And it's like, is it systematically going to change? Are we going to systematically re-engage with society and reevaluate?
I mean, I feel similar really. I really hope, I wish, I see so much value in it, but we've all got short memories.
Yeah.
And a sort of common theme, what we're talking about, we're rushing on to the next thing. So we're not stopping to think that, how do I want to live? What do I want to change? What do I want to take forward from this time? We just rushed on to the, oh, great, get out and see my friends and go shopping. I'd get back to the gym nearly. And we're on that treadmill.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So again, it comes back to that opposing forces. Is that having that presence of mind to go, no, I'm going to text my friend, say, no, I'm not doing that today. I'm not up for doing it for the next 2 weeks. And that client that needed phoning back today, no, I'm not going to do it because I've set that goal. I'm not going to do it. I'm walking the dog all day.
It's a choice, isn't it? And I think to make choices, you need to have that awareness.
You always have, something that Dave Brown said, you always have that choice. It may feel really flipping difficult and powerful and all the rest of it, but you always got a choice. Always got a choice.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. We don't always recognize that we have a choice, or we don't always, we sort of look back and think, oh, I wish I'd made a different choice. But everything we do, there's a choice with. Even as I could choose to lay in bed this morning, or I could choose to get up and do yoga, or whatever that might be. But then saying I had the choice and I chose to stay in bed, I feel then there's some control around that. I feel a bit empowered by that, rather than saying, oh, I was really lazy, I just stayed in bed.
It's framing though, isn't it? It is framing.
I know, why are you laughing? You've had a few of these little giggling moments.
Again, it's giggly moments. It's true. It's a bit the giggly moments are. It's like, yeah, no shit. It's just setting stuff off in my head. That's not very masculine laugh, but I'm sure.
Choice though is huge, isn't it? But we need to see that we've got a choice first, so we need to take that moment to stop. And I feel like a bit of a broken record about stopping and pausing, but
you could break that record, but it's no, you can say that 1,000 more times. I mean, if somebody's listening to this, then it's got to be repeated. I mean, I don't know what else there is to, obviously, don't know what else there is to repeat. It's so crucial. It's so.
Yeah, I think sometimes we don't stop or don't pause because there's the fear, we're scared of something.
So something that comes up when you said that is the fear. Have you heard of that concept, like the shadow?
Explore that. How do you mean?
So you talk about the fear of stopping and pausing, and it's something that said to me a few years ago about we've all got our shadow. You talk about, you started out the podcast where everybody's looking out, you need to look in, and then you look in, and then you see the shadow. So you see the fluffy part of you, and then bloody hell, that shadow behind you, and all the crap that you don't want people to see, or the thoughts that you have, or that part of your psyche, or your and to embrace that. Embrace it, look at it, and I thought that was. Have you heard of that concept before, or perhaps in a different?
In a different way, I think reflection. We've talked about this word. What even is that? And I was thinking about that yesterday, and then it became so obvious. When we take time to reflect, we're looking at ourselves, We're looking at what's in there, all of those things that you just said about the shadow self. It's reflection is taking a mirror out and having a good old look.
Scary.
Exactly. Yeah, it's hard.
Is it scary?
Yes.
Because I always remember I had a really vivid dream once, and I was being chased. I was being chased in the dream, and I was being chased through. Like, there was a couple of days that went past where I was still being chased, and it was like two. And it was two. I'm a Cambridge United fan, and it was two Luton Town hooligans chasing me. Symbolic of, it became symbolic or metaphoric, whatever the phrase is. And it was like, so the game finished, and then they were chasing me, and I was running through like North London. Bloody hell, I remember this. Bloody hell, I'm running through North London. I was like, God, they keep chasing me. And then the hustle and bustle of the city sort of finished, and I was in suburbia, and I can't keep on running. And they're still there. And then the voice said, or my own voice said, why don't you just face it? And then I faced it, and then just dissipated. And I thought, flipping out, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Those dreams, and you think, oh, hello, there's a little juicy message in there. It's not some.
It's a metaphor for life.
Yeah. So, you can kind of build up. Perhaps the shadow, and build it up into something that, if you just faced it and broke it down, perhaps it after reflection is not that scary.
I definitely think there's something in that. I think we are scared of what might be uncovered or what we might see about ourselves, and sometimes we have to face things that we don't maybe like about ourselves as well, and that's uncomfortable. But ultimately, it's getting you to a place of more awareness, connection with yourself, so that you can make better decisions and choices and get to that place of contentment.
Because aren't they all just all I mean, to a certain extent, aren't they just all self-made stories? And you just like look at them, and they're like, they're stories, or they're your memories of a previous event which you've overlaid in the story. And I'm not trying to devalue it and trying to boo-hoo it and say, just breathe.
Get over it.
Get over it, you softly sod. No. But I'm just trying to find a bit of truth in looking at it square in the eye, and then
it is. Some of them are stories, I guess, but they've been there, deep-rooted for a long time. You talked about where does that come from earlier. I can't remember now what we were talking about exactly, but we pick up these things. I think being productive, if you take that as a story, for example, I've learned that from day one, and I've carried that for 37 years. Saying I'm just not going to listen to that story anymore, or I'm not going to follow that story, is really difficult, because it's ingrained in you. It's habitual. You've got all those other little voices in your head telling you that's how you live life, and that's how you're going to make it. So yes, it's a story, but we need to work to change that story. And maybe that's a scary thing. I'm going to have to do something, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to take effort if I want to change that story.
So Gemma, I think we could literally talk for the next 10 hours, and I say that every time. I say that at every podcast, but sometimes I mean it and sometimes I don't.
Oh.
But I do mean it this time. But I've got to be disciplined, you see, because I'm a very important, busy person, and I must get on to the next thing, you see. So
maybe you should take a break.
No, definitely not. Carry on, just crack on continuously. Gemma, so where can people find you, please? Social media, websites?
Very easy website, gemmabrowncoaching.co.uk. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Instagram, Gemma Brown Coaching, Twitter, and Facebook. So wherever your social media of choice is.
Excellent. You on TikTok yet?
Oh, I don't even know what that is. No.
Missing out.
Oh, maybe there's enough to do.
You know, you must be on TikTok. You must be everywhere. Cool.
No, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you, Dan.
No worries. We should do a second partner in a few months.
Oh, yeah. Part 2.
And, well, no, we can't do it in a couple of months because we're on lockdown again, wouldn't we? Yeah.
Oh, we could do face-to-face on the canoe.
The canoe and a screen.
And a screen, yeah. I'll bring my mask and my anti-bac spray.
Brilliant. And if you're watching, Ollie, we'll be in one canoe and you'll be in another with a camera. Yeah, that'll be it.
That's the dream. Let's do that.
Yeah. Nice
Brilliant.
one.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.